That is Mr. Let's Play It's reaction to his first ever live shiny. That is the first video I ever uploaded to this channel, and I uploaded it 10 years ago. In honor of a decade of shiny hunting, I wanted to make this video to look back on the impact it's had on my life and give a timeline of events that get us to where we are today. Let's begin. While my YouTube shiny hunting timeline starts in early 2012, I want to rewind a few more years to when I first found out about shinies. It was 2007, and one of my friends had an action replay. He showed me how he could use the action replay on his Diamond and Pearl games to make the Pokemon appear a different color and sparkle. When I first saw this, I assumed it was something that only cheats could do and not an actual mechanic of the game. However, over the next several years, I realized that shinies existed in all my beloved games except for first gen. When I found this out, I became a lot more interested in shinies and would do 10 or 20 encounters here or there hoping to find one. I didn't find my first shiny until 2009 when I was playing through my Platinum and I found a random shiny Shellos. I only had one netball on me. I chose not to weaken the Shellos and just throw the netball and pray, and somehow I caught it. That's when I realized I think I need to start hunting shinies. But for all of 2009 and 2010 and most of 2011, I just didn't have the patience to sustain a shiny hunt. That was until I figured out what Masuda method was. Starting around September of 2011, I began hunting for a Masuda method shiny Zorua. This was before I was interested in uploading shinies to YouTube, though I did watch a lot of shiny hunting YouTube videos at the time. It took me over 1,100 eggs to find this Zorua, and I never hatched more than 30 or 40 eggs in a day because, impatience. But one day, while driving back from the mall with my closest friend and my mom, I hatched a blue Zorua. I wish I had that reaction on tape, because I've never freaked out more for a shiny than I did for that first Zorua. You see, shiny hunting is like a drug. The first time you take it, the reaction is great, and you think, man, I gotta do this more often. And for the rest of your shiny hunting career, you are chasing that bliss that you felt after finding your first shiny. Now I want to talk less about the shinies and more about the people, because the people are truly what has made shiny hunting an amazing hobby for me, and one that I will have for the rest of my life. Around June of 2012, I was frequently watching a lot of shiny hunting videos, and I came to realize that there was this sort of posse of a handful of shiny hunters who would talk on Skype with each other when they were hunting. When one guy would find a shiny and make a video, he would list off all the other guys that were in the call with him. I dreamed of one day being included in this group, getting a shout out when another guy found a shiny, and just being able to talk in a call all night with a bunch of fellow shiny hunters about our favorite thing, shinies. I wrote down a list of as many of these OG shiny hunters, so to speak, who arrived to shiny hunting before me and joined this group of elite Skype callers. I truly held them in such high regard, and I'll never forget watching those videos and thinking, man, I wish I could be in that Skype call. So let me read off some names. I might not get every single one of the original names, but I've got most of them here. In no particular order: Shiny Hunter Zach, Supreme Arcanines, Shiny Hunter Nick, Alpha Zapdos, XX Brotac XX, Pokewaff, SH257, Shiny Hunter 45, XX Turbo Turtle XX, XIX Leon XIX, Pikachu Paradise, Pure Skill 740, Chaos Darkrai, Flash Programmer 101. That's the majority of the group that I can remember. Obviously, not all of those guys would always be in the call at once, but those were the names you heard repeatedly. Like I said, I held those guys in extremely high regard, and I just dreamed of talking to them one day. Well now, 10 years later, I've met 3 of the people on that list, been to their houses, hung out with them for multiple days at a time, and that has truly changed my life. In August of 2012, I met my first close shiny hunting friend, Pokewaf. We were both about to start our freshman years of high school, and we bonded over the fact that our senses of humor were incredibly similar. Shiny hunting and humor were the only commonalities we needed to hit it off. We had many late nights on Skype, hunting until the sun started to rise, watching old Adam Sandler movies. It was so much fun. Joe and I had such a great time together that less than a year after meeting him, in July of 2013, I flew across the country alone to go meet Joe. We spent 7 days together, hunting at night, going around and seeing various sights during the day, and we had so much fun that we did the same thing again in 2014, again in 2015, and in 2016 he came to visit me. Now, Joe is not the only close shiny hunting friend that I made. Beginning in 2013, I also started to build a strong friendship with shiny hunter Nick. Like Pokewaf, Nick and I had a very similar sense of humor that was all we needed to spend hundreds of hours talking on Skype together. What's more is Nick grew up less than an hour from the area my dad grew up in. So, in the winter of 2014, when I was visiting my grandmother, Nick drove, came to pick me up, and we started our first ever IRL. We hunted shinies, we watched movies, we went sledding. It was a blast, and it only lasted 3 days. After that IRL, Nick and I were dead set on having a longer one. And the next year we did just that. I flew to Iowa specifically to see Nick, and we hung out for 7 days. Since then, I've lost track of how many times I have hung out with shiny hunter Nick. He's definitely a close friend of mine, and we will be friends for a long time to come. Unless we have a fight. The next shiny hunter I had an IRL with arrived to the scene a year or two later than I did, but him and I are close friends to this day. In 2016, while taking a road trip through Louisiana, I passed by Absolblog's Pokemon's college, and I texted him and said, "Hey man, we're about to stop for dinner. You want to come meet me?" And so, for about 25 minutes, I met Absolblog's Pokemon at a Cajun restaurant in North Louisiana. We had so much fun in just those moments that we knew we'd have to have a proper IRL someday. And starting in 2018, when Matt got his own place, we IRL'd like crazy. I haven't IRL'd with anybody as much as I've IRL'd with Matt in the last 4 years, simply because he's only a 4-hour drive away from me. Matt and I are close friends, and we've hung out multiple times, and I know that's not going to stop anytime soon. The fourth shiny hunter I ever IRL'd with was the XX Tan Man XX. You might know him from the Shiny Hunting Museum video I did about one of his DS Lites last year. In 2019, when I was IRLing with shiny hunter Nick, we realized that the Tan Man lived on a farm less than 2 hours from where shiny hunter Nick lived. So, we drove out to his farm, and we had a blast. Since then, we've gone to Tanner's farm 3 times, and it's probably not going to stop anytime soon. There's something about being on a farm that just makes you feel free. That brings me to the 5th and final shiny hunter who I've IRL'd with, Pikachu Paradise. I started watching his shiny hunting videos in 2011 and finally got to talk to him on Skype for the first time in 2012, I believe in September. It would be almost 9 years before I'd finally get to meet him, when in July of 2021, I was going to be in Las Vegas for a weekend. Seeing that Pikachu Paradise lived less than 5 hours away from Las Vegas, I just texted him to see if maybe he'd be in Vegas that weekend by chance. And sure enough, he was going to be. So, I set off to Pikachu Paradise's hotel room, and I finally met him. I gave him a big hug, I got to smell his aroma, I got to feel his life force, and it was amazing. This was almost 9 years in the making. But something wasn't quite right. Something smelled off about that hotel room. I smelled two boys in there, not just one. The other boy was Shiny Hunter Nick. Pikachu Paradise had surprised me by inviting Shiny Hunter Nick along for the ride, and so, two of my closest shiny hunting friends in history, Pikachu Paradise and Shiny Hunter Nick, spent the weekend with me in Las Vegas. We engaged in tomfoolery, hijinks, escapades, gallivanting around the whole city, losing hundreds of dollars in each of the hotels. Gosh, it was so much fun. I cannot believe that I went from a little 14-year-old shiny hunter to being 24 years old, hanging out in Vegas with shiny hunters that I had known for almost a decade. That was truly one of the best weekends of my entire life. Well, that's about it for my recap of the last decade. You might notice that I spent a minimal amount of time talking about actual shinies. And the reason for that is, well, I'll say it again. People are what have made the shiny hunting community amazing for me. I have met countless lifelong friends through shiny hunting, and I am just so glad that I decided to pick up this hobby when I did. Shiny hunting and the people I met through it has truly molded my young adulthood, and I am so grateful for all of the experiences I've had in the last 10 years. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions about my shiny hunting history, leave them in the comments and I will be more than happy to answer them for you. Good luck on all your hunts.